you.
Putting up our quote card here. Look at this. You're getting live actual work here. All right, everybody, welcome back. Now you got this. We are here for another one of your questions about work. And for those of you who are here for the first time, I'm Roy. I'm a startup investor in the future of work. We ask and answer with friends one kind of practical dilemma about work roughly every workday. One big change is on Friday last week, we released the first version of what we've been working on for a while, which is a comprehensive compendium of all of these answers, which you can find at thisisnotadvice.work. And so today I've got Omar Brownson with us. He's an entrepreneur. He's a host of a podcast called Gratitude Blooming. And ever since we got introduced by a mutual friend who I adore, Omar's been like one of these, like, you get these people like just a positive presence without being bullshit. Like, honestly, I can't take the people who are like they always hit the positive button because it's inauthentic. And so, Omar, I'm really eager. I know we had this conversation over Twitter. And, as you said, I volunteered you into this, which is I'm going through my workday and there's a lot happening. And this is one I really need to practice more of. How can I be more present during my workday? And thank you for any perspective you can give us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll just share 7 years ago, I was founding executive director of a nonprofit working on revitalizing the Los Angeles River. 51 miles, 2,100 acres of land, 1 million people live within a mile of the river, which means there's 3 million different opinions. And I got an opportunity to take a travel fellowship. And so I went up to a monastery up in Big Sur, 1,200 feet up in the air, and did a 6-day silent retreat. It was the first time I've ever done anything like that. And in all of that silence, I just realized how impatient of a human being I am. And so I got to talk to this monk at the end of 6 days. One, it was great to talk again. Two, I was like, hey, I just realized how impatient I am. And he put his hand on my shoulder and put his face right up to mine. And he just laughed at me. And he said, the root word for impatience in Latin is to suffer. He says,
wow.
That's a burden to carry. And I was like, this is A, terrible advice. B, I don't want to carry this burden around. So I was like, how do I do that? And I started to meditate. I meditated twice a day, every day for 6 straight months. And at the end of 6 months, I realized I was still just stressed out. I still had a very demanding job, high profile, working with the architect, Frank Gehry, 2 young kids, wanting to be a good husband. And so I stumbled into mindfulness, and I was like, okay, maybe instead of carving out time in my day, how do I just integrate mindfulness throughout my day? But it wasn't until I stumbled into the practice of gratitude that I really learned to just pause and notice good. And something shifted in me. And I think what I've learned is that sort of meditation begins with noticing each breath. Mindfulness begins with noticing change. Gratitude begins with noticing good. And so whatever your practice is that helps you become more aware of your noticing is really where you can find your transformation.
And so I think what I hear you saying is, unlike many things that happen at work where the answer lies in what you do within work, this is more like physical exercise where it's like, hey, if I want to have more energy during the workday, maybe the answer is you got to go, exercise before work. And so you're talking about something that is a general life practice whose benefit may be appreciated at work, but is not about work per se.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is a way of life. I think is part of what I learned is that I am who I am wherever I am. And so I think part of it is then how do I pause and be present in a different way? And I think, again, sort of overachiever classic, but what I learned was that willpower in psychology, they call it ego deplenishment, meaning the more of it that you use, the less of it that you actually have. Whereas a practice like gratitude, the more you use it, the more you have.
Oh, I love that.
It's a regenerative energy.
Oh, I love that.
If I want to have more energy, if I just rely on my ego, then it's sort of a finite resource and it sort of draws down fast. If I want to sort of be available and bring my full energy, then what is that regenerative source of energy that I can use? And it's like
Gratitude.
A muscle. Yeah. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes.
I love that. I mean, my own experiences with meditation, the book that finally did it for me was Mindfulness in Plain English. And, I'd say I'm not a twice a day person. I'm probably more of a 2 or 3 times a week, but it's been really powerful. And what I haven't yet had happen, which is really encouraging to me that you have, because that's an inspirational example, is that moment of a shift. Like I have felt a muscle gradually building, but I haven't felt like a tectonic plate move in me. I'd very much like it to. And maybe the answer is I just got to do it twice a day for a while until eventually
This is what I love about gratitude, is that it's not a 10-minute or 20-minute or whatever your commitment is for meditation. It's like pause and notice something good. And if you can just do that 3 times a day, and it can be at once, it can be throughout the day. And it's about taking sort of small steps as opposed to big leaps.
I love that.
The other difference is that meditation and mindfulness, I feel like, are very much in your head, whereas gratitude's an emotion. You already have it. You feel it. And so kids can do it. So you can do it with I've been doing it with my kids every night for 5-6 years.
Amazing. How old are your kids?
They're now 11 and 13.
Awesome.
So,
mine are 11 and 13. Well, my daughter's going to be 11 in like a month. So I think I got to get on this. I think my wife practices it better than I do. All right, Omar, any parting thoughts before we wrap?
I just say you are what you notice. And so making visible what you value, that's what really gratitude is about. I would say fearless gratitude is learning to make visible what you take for granted. And so when you can actually appreciate not only what you kind of love and acknowledge, but what maybe are you ignoring, and how do you actually create room to sort of see the good, the bad, and the ugly without necessarily judgment.
I love it. All right. Well, for those of you joining us for the first time, the reason we say this is not advice is because neither of us is trying to tell you what you should be doing. This is Omar started with his story of his meditation experience and the silent retreat, which is something I want to do too. And Big Sur sounds like a great place to do it. So thank you for giving us that, and to be continued. I just want to say, I'm going to take a minute and say, a second, less than a minute, and say, I'm grateful for the fact, Omar, that you were able to relate your transformation to an on-ramp that felt very similar to a place that I've been. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.